to Miss Vicky's bookcase. Today is another round of doing the monthly bullet journal spreads, and I've picked the theme of The Hobbit for this month. I'm not sure whether it turned out well or not, if I'm very honest, but we'll see as we get further on into the different spreads. So currently I'm creating the monthly plate, and I decided that since July and August are all about holidays and going on journeys, that I'd recreate kind of like a map feeling for the journey of the Hobbit. So this page is going to have Bag End, the Green Dragon and Troll Shores. I also decided that I wanted to keep with a medieval style, as I love the versatility of the medieval style and medieval manuscripts. So you'll see that kind of coming into play as we go through the different spreads. As I was doing this at the very end of the month and didn't really have time to do anything more elaborate, I also decided to just colour it in with pencil crayons throughout and maybe add gold highlights. I kind of missed doing the watercolours, but I just didn't have time to do that, unfortunately. I was also supposed to use a very limited colour palette throughout the entire thing, but I kind of skipped out on that because I really loved the little fire that I'm going to draw. It's my favourite thing, and that was bright orange, which kind of didn't really fit with the entire theme because I was going for a kind of muted green, red and black. Okay, I ended up with blue as well as orange. But blue is my favourite colour, and I then realised halfway through that I'm doing the river at Rivendell and the lake later on, so I kind of needed blue anyway. At least that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So we're just doing a pencil drawing here. I always do pencil drawings first because I just want to make sure that I've got the proportions right, and the lettering especially in this spread because it's so lettering heavy, so to speak, and I wanted to make sure it was right. Okay, so I did also give up with some of the lettering because most of it's too large, but I'll complain about that later. Okay, we're going to move on to pen in a second. Yes, we are. This will hopefully help you to see it a bit better. I know pencil's a bit hard to see, but it's always worth showing the very beginning where I do all the pencil work before I go over in pen. I tend to find that with the pencil that it's more like a placeholder, and when I go over in pen I sometimes actually change a little bit how I draw specific things, especially when I'm doing my faux lettering. I am terrible with lettering, and I always forget when I go over in pen that I may want it in a different colour, which is what I was supposed to doing with this month, but I had totally forgotten and I just went straight over in pen as if I was just going to make it all black instead of the red it was supposed to be. But I did make it so it kind of stood out, but I have to say, for me, this layout is a bit too messy. I made the lettering far too big, so it's really hard to see the July, and I think I made the pictures too big. They were supposed to be a lot smaller, but I thought, oh, there's loads of page, I'll just make it bigger. No, that was a regret, definite regret. As you can see now, I've just drawn in a quick red path, and that is the one thing I'm really happy about because the red is so bold, it stands out, and it actually shows kind of like, well, Bilbo left from Bag End and he went to the Green Dragon to meet up with the others, and then they got captured in the Troll Shores. So that's the bit I really like. And also, sounds weird, but I really like the fire that I drew. I actually found a manuscript that had this fantastic fire where they had these coals and just a single flame coming out of these coals. I really liked that, and I'm really pleased about that. Anyway, I'm just going to jump back to the lettering a second. So the lettering is actually the Hobbit font from The Hobbit, of course, and so that's why the lettering is so big, because it's kind of really difficult to faux draw it really small. It was only supposed to be like really tiny, but as I said, I think I got totally carried away with this entire thing, just making everything big instead of kind of small and map-like. Yeah, I'm not sure about the lettering either. I think it's one of my worst attempts. but that's the whole point to doing a journal and trying something new. It's having a go, and as you do more and more of it, of course, it becomes easier. Not entirely sure that worked quite so well with all the lettering I did in this part of the journal. I probably won't try the Hobbit font again. I'm just not a fan, really. It's really hard. Really hard. So we're on to our next spread, and I'm pretty excited because I feel like I did better on this page. Still not great, but I feel like I did better. This is my tracking double spread. I track my physical or ebooks on one side and I track my audio on another, as I wanted to see how much I listen to audiobooks as well. And I could have condensed this all into one page, but I really like the opportunity to be able to express myself in a slightly bigger way. This double spread has 3 stops along our Hobbit map. So we have Rivendell, the Goblin City and Carrock. There were quite a few different places I could have picked from, but I decided in the end to just keep to the main places that kind of were easier-ish to draw. We did have the Eagle's Eyrie, or the Eagle's Nest, and I was like, no, they didn't really go to the nest, so we'll keep to just Carrock. I also kept the map at the very bottom, so unlike a couple of other spreads that I usually do, I usually put the spreads throughout the trackers to make it more interesting, but this was complicated enough, so we kept to the bottom, which again was a lot easier. And this time, now looking at what I'm doing, I actually remembered to draw the city lines in red. I did try with this fine liner, where it's more like a ballpoint pen, but it didn't have quite the impact I wanted, so I did end up having to go back over it again, and I used a Tombow red marker for that. As you can see, I've just swapped over because I was like, nah, not working. I really liked the way the Goblin City actually panned out. I was really pleased. That's exactly how I was imagining it. And I know it's kind of over 2 pages, and I couldn't... It seemed lopsided if I tried to put it on one side or the other, so I just kept it with the split, which is fine by me as it kind of still gives that authenticity. I also really enjoyed the Rivendell one. Actually, saying that, looking back at what I've done, I'm very proud of this page. Well, I'm proud of the pictures. I'm still really not happy with the lettering. The lettering's all over the place and it still didn't work the way I wanted it to. I'm still making it far too big, and you'll see that when you see the finished product. I just couldn't get it smaller. I just no matter what I drew, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think I changed my mind 3 times about where I was putting the lettering, because again I made the lettering way too big, especially as it was supposed to be a map. People don't have lettering that big unless it's a major city, so we'll leave that there. But I'm still really not pleased with the lettering, but you'll see that again a little bit later on because I'm ahead of myself. I'm now doing the boxes, which you would think would be a very simple endeavour. I mean, I have to draw 31 boxes, right? But apparently I can't count, or rather I can't count how many days are in the week, because I ended up putting in an extra Monday for some bizarre reason. Apparently I thought there were 5 Mondays in July this year, when there wasn't. I kind of saved it enough though I only had the Monday box and like 2 odd lines, because I actually drew it wrong, as you can see there in the bottom left hand corner. It was kind of weird, but you live and you learn. And I think happy mistakes, was it? Oh, I keep getting it wrong with Bob Ross. What does he say? There's no such thing as accidents, but just happy mistakes. And I'm just going to keep with the happy mistake. I'm going to remember it forevermore that I need to make sure I count for the month, but yeah. So we've put the July in, well, rather I'm just putting the July in, and I'm quite liking the July. I just wish I'd remembered to do it in red, because I was supposed to. But since I still didn't remember, I just kept it with black, and at least that matches with all the other pages instead of suddenly abruptly going to red lettering. Oh, there we go. As you can see at the very bottom, I'm now drawing in my Rivendell. Yeah, I had to kind of try and fit it all in. Yeah, it's all wonky. We're just gonna leave the lettering alone. Well, at least I'm getting the practice in, and that's the main thing. I keep telling myself that I might just switch back to the font I usually use, but then I'm thinking, wow, I'm really boring. So I decided, just as a side note, with the Carrack, I decided that I'd really like, because it's just a rock and it sounds really boring, I decided to outline it as an extra one and do a little bit of gold to add, as my friends call it, zhuzhing. I really like to add some zhuzhing sometimes, even if it kind of bleeds through a tiny bit into the next page. I'm always happy with that because it kind of makes me excited to see what's on the next page. I know, very sad. Looking back at the page and kind of, I'm almost finished. I'm just colouring in or doing the last bit of the black work for the faux lettering and then finishing off the colouring in. I kind of realised July sits there a bit lonely. Kind of wish I put something in. I might go back to it. I'm not sure what I'd do. Maybe I'll have a look, see what kind of different characters we could put in. I suppose we could put in, actually, no, I don't think I want to put people. I was just about to say, I'll put Bilbo in with the dwarves, but then remember how badly I draw people, which is why I'm glad that I picked buildings, because I'm much better at buildings. Ooh, I just had a thought. I could put in a cat snail, or a casnail, or a casnat. I'm not sure what to call it. I did it in my previous month where I had a cat's head coming out of a snail shell. It's one of my favourite medieval manuscript characters. I mean, medieval people must have been on some kind of drug high or something because they have really, really crazy marginalia. I really recommend going and having a look at the British archives and their digital medieval manuscript archives. Absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. You can see all different kinds of stuff. I mean, you've got knights riding rabbits or rabbits riding different things being knights. We have men's heads on top of birds. We have like people that are headless. It's really bizarre, but I just can't help enjoying it. Anyway, I've just realised I'm doing the next spread. So moving on to the next spread, we have the TBR page and the red page. Now I do tend to like doing a TBR page because I don't know about you, but I have to plan my month in advance because I'm doing so many different readathons or different reading challenges that I need to know what I'm doing for the month, and anything else kind of is almost for pleasure. This month I've decided to go with catch-up month since the readathon that I was originally doing got cancelled. I'm not going to go into whys. It's not my issue. So this month I'm calling it the catch-up month. So I didn't write it in there, but I have all the catch-up books, basically all the boring non-fiction that I promised myself I'd read. I'm sure it's fascinating, really. Hopefully. Anyway. So we're carrying on again the theme of the map again along the bottom. I kind of wish I changed it around a little bit and maybe put it at the top, just to give it a bit of difference. Well, anyway, so this time around we're doing Barons, I can never say it correct, Barons Hall, the Elf Path, the Enchanted River, and Thranduil's Hall. Thranduil's Hall? Thranduil's Hall? We'll just go with Thranduil. Thranduil? You know what I mean. This is actually one of the simplest ones, especially the Enchanted River, which actually is my favourite. With the Enchanted River, of course, it was a black river, so I got the opportunity to colour it black and then draw white lines. Simple. The simple things, really. I have to admit, I also kind of went wrong with the B, this lettering. Seriously. But I suppose it's different, but the B being a bit weird. Yeah, never doing this again. I think I've repeated that like 5 times now, but genuinely makes me sigh. Really, really does. I did like Thranduil's Hall though. I liked the fact that I just kept it very simple, drew his throne, and just gave him some columns because why wouldn't an elf have columns? And Beorn's Hall, I kept it very simple. I did keep imagining the Hobbit, the film version of the Hobbit with Beorn's Hall when I did it. I did want to kind of draw bees in as well, but then I thought, oh, let's not make it a bit too weird, as we're supposed to be focusing on what I'm going to be reading and what I've read. And unlike last month where I started the monthly spreads well in advance, I started it on the 30th of June, so I had about 3 hours to be able to do all of these spreads. Let's just say my hand is really aching now from trying to rush it. And I can tell the difference actually between last month, where I put way more effort in, compared to this month, where I was trying to keep it simple. I think I like last month better. I like the theme though. I keep tutting because I'm just like, ah. Anyway, again, I'm keeping it very simple with the colouring. I'm not making it very sophisticated, again, because I lack the time. And I think I know we're doing this as a speed. This is 8 times speed compared to the 20 times I did for last month. With the 8 times speed, if I just did it normally, I think I did it in about 2.5 to 3 hours. And to me, you can definitely tell. Oh, we've moved on now from the TBR Unread to the book of the month. Now these are the last 2 of the Hobbit map, can't say it, of the places that we're going to visit in the Hobbit map, and that is Esgaroth and Erebor. I did debate about doing the back entrance to Erebor, and then I was like, it's just going to be kind of the same, but on the back side. 2 mountains, 2 different sides. Yeah, it just sounded boring. And since the goal of the Hobbit was to get to Erebor and get to the treasure, I feel like that said enough. I weirdly actually quite liked the way Erebor turned out in some respects. Or actually, rather say the mountain bit turned out very well. I really enjoyed that. And for once, I actually remembered that I wanted to do a different colour with the lettering, and I managed to colour in the book of the month in gold. At least I eventually got there. I think I'm going to go a radical different way next month because, at least with the lettering, maybe go back to simple. Anyway, I did do book in gold lettering, and in some respects I kind of wish I also did of the and month as well in the gold lettering, just because again the lettering for Erebor and Esgaroth, they're just too large. Also kind of went wrong with the B in Erebor again. I don't know what it is with that B. I mean, I really like that letter actually. That's a really cool letter, and that's my favourite letter of them all other than V, because of course V is the best. But the B letter, I know it sounds weird, but the shape is just so curvy and lovely. I love it. I just wish I could get it right. I suppose it just adds my own personality to it. Okay, so I think we're almost finished with it all. Yes, I'm just writing in the Esgaroth, and I'll be doing Erebor in a moment. Also, I wish I'd moved the mountain down a little bit so I could have put Erebor above. That's the other thing, I'm not very consistent as to where I put the lettering, and I kind of wish I was a little bit, because then it makes more sense. Overall, too much lettering, I think. And I think I've said that it's probably for the 7th time now. I console myself that at least you're learning from my mistakes. So we are done, and I've slowed it down so you can actually see it without trying to get a headache from looking at it so fast. So we have my monthly plate of July. Moving on to the tracking pages with my physical on one side and my audio on the other. Apologies for the odd angle. I'm afraid I have to film at a very odd angle and then flip it around so you're not looking at it upside down. Anyway, this is my TBR Unread page, and then of course last of all my book of the month page. So there you have it for July.